Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Ryan with Propelio. Today on the show, back with me as always, Miss Casey Dehle. And our guest today is Mr. House Buying Brian himself, Brian Iregbu. And what we're going to be talking about is keeping it real in real estate. So join in the fun. I'm sure a lot of y'all are familiar with Brian. If you're not, check out his Instagram and his YouTube. It's a great guest. We're looking forward to this one. But what we're really looking forward to is keeping it real with real estate. Check out this intro that Travion did. It's amazing as always. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back.
We're back.
It's like, what do we do?
Awesome. I'm so happy to be back in the studio, and very nice to meet you, Brian.
Nice to
we
meet
had a
you.
really
Thank
cool
you.
chat before we got on camera. And the reason we're calling it Keeping It Real, I don't even know where to look anymore. So I'll look at you.
Does it matter? You don't
All
have
these
glasses?
cameras, right?
I'm blind. I can't even see. I really like your story, and I love how down to earth you are about the whole journey and like how long it took you to get to where you are. So for those of you who might not know who you are, why don't you give us just a little background on how you got into real estate and where you are now?
Okay, sure. So my name is Brian Iregbu. I'm in Houston, Texas. I've been in real estate since 2014. 2014 is when I did my first deal. How I got started in Texas, so you know, it's an oil and gas place, right? Mm-hmm. The only way to make a really good living is either you work for an oil and gas company, you're a doctor, dentist, a lawyer, right? So when I was working this oil and gas company, even though I knew it was a great job, everybody was kind of, I guess, sold on just doing this, and at 59 and a half, you could leave with $2 million, and now you can go fishing. I don't know why it didn't sit well with me. It was really depressing just to know that was the fate at the end. So while other guys was at work, working hard and waiting for the weekend, I was trying to find an escape plan. So it's one of those things where you kind of know when people are telling the truth and when they kind of BSing. And everything that I seen on the internet, make money here, make money there. The people that were talking about real estate, you could just tell that they were telling the truth. And I was like, this is it. And so when I got...
Not all of them.
Not all of them. Oh yeah, the gurus, right?
Let me just put it out there that we're not condoning every person that's ever talking
True,
about real estate is
true.
talking about the truth.
But,
man.
but in terms of...
We're going to get there.
Yeah,
That's our
I
next
mean, we're talking
topic.
about keeping it real.
Yeah,
Let's
keep it real. We're going to get there.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
That was the one method to making more money or doing better financially that I was seeing repeated people that I got the feeling that they were genuine. Mm-hmm. And I was like, let me take a chance in this. I actually spent $4,000 on one of my first original mentors. I got lucky and got someone that was actually genuine, and for that $4,000 I invested, he gave it all to me. And how I originally got started, I know a lot of people get started wholesaling, and they're told, hey, start wholesaling, get you some cash, get enough cash, you buy some rentals, and you can maybe scale up to fix and flips and so on. Mm-hmm. I didn't start like that. In 2014, I was taught this. Here are all the different ways you can structure a deal. What you need to do is market to find leads, and as the leads come in, you decide which one is a fit. And that's how I started.
That was and whoever your mentor is, it's first of all, the fact that you didn't get screwed over is amazing.
Yeah,
and you
I
actually
like it.
got an actionable item to grow a business on, but it was that piece of information because we've talked about that here at the studio many times of a good investor knows what to do going into the deal. A great investor will get the deal and figure it out on the backside.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that your mentor put you on to be a great investor from the very beginning, that's huge.
And I'm just I can't tell you how thankful I am because I wasn't the one that started as an entrepreneur. I actually went to college. I actually was in the middle of my master's degree when I finished the master's degree, I only get a $2,000 a year raise when I quit. That was the only reason I quit. I was
You're
like,
my people.
This is scam. I was
Yeah.
a science teacher at the time, and I was doing my master's degree, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. But I am so grateful for the education I got originally when I invested, and it's worth way more than my bachelor's degree that's sitting in a frame getting dusty. So that's how I started.
Awesome. And I really like that you talked about when you get started. I think a lot of people when they're entering this space, they don't really know what to do, right? So you're right. Everyone says, "Well, go to wholesale. It's probably the easiest point of entry." You really don't need a ton of cash. I do think you need money in real estate to make it sustainable and consistent, which a lot of people don't tell you, right? They're like, yeah, you might be able to get that $10,000 check out the gate, but what are you building to make it consistent? And so I think something that should be asked when somebody maybe is making that transition is, what is scalable here, and do I even want to scale it? Can I scale it to a place, and is that marketing that I have to scale? Is it a fix and flip business that I have to scale, or is it wholesaling and vice versa? So I like that you said, but what you can scale is, hey, no matter what deal I get, I have all of these tools, and that is scalable, right? Because you can go in a ton of different markets. So you mentioned that it took you 6 years to actually quit your job.
Yeah.
So tell us your thought process and why it took you that long.
Because we're keeping it real.
I'm keeping it real.
And I can do math. You said 2014, 6 years. It's still 2019. That's only 5 years.
Okay, 5 years.
Not to point that out.
No,
but,
you know what that
call
means?
out.
That means you don't even
lie.
know. You didn't even know how to add to make a lot of money in real estate.
There you go. That's even a better.
You don't
that's
even
a
know
better point.
even have to know how to add.
You can just outsource that, y'all.
Exactly.
Outsource it all.
math.
Yeah. So it was 2014. So I guess that isn't 6 years yet. 5 years.
5
Yeah.
5
4 or
years.
5,
Well, no,
whatever.
it's almost 2020, so
Almost.
we're good. Anyway, side note.
Do I need to? I'm just kidding. All right. So with that, here is originally when I first started, it was more so that I wasn't really looking for an escape route. I was like, man, how do I make an extra $40,000, $50,000? Because I was like, I got a good job, but it's not quite how much I want to make. Let me make an extra 40 or 50,000, and then that's when I started investing in real estate. And so the whole time, years passed by, a few years passed, and my goal wasn't to be a full-time. I just got a degree. By heart, I was still, a W-2 employee. So it was really just to pad my income and have extra money to play with. But what happened is I started to get in a space. I was doing my thing. And then I transitioned to a part of I started sharing things that I was doing. First, no one was listening. Then I started to get some eyebrows and people started to listen. And then I started to get introduced to people that were doing a lot more than me. And I was like, whoa, I thought I was doing good. I didn't know people really was taking it to that level. And then my eyes got bigger, right? I was like, wow, maybe this can replace my job totally. And that's when I started transitioning into trying to make it replace my job. The first 3 years I wasn't trying to, I was like, let me make it, $40,000, $50,000 extra.
Well, I mean, going back to the original concept of being 59 and a half and have $2 million in the bank, that's an amazing life. I mean, well, that's an amazing place to be at 59 to have $2 million. Because most jobs aren't going to get you to that point.
Absolutely.
So even if you are of the mindset of go work, anything that I can have on top of the 2 million, that's just gravy. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But to be able to get to a point where like, well, maybe this is outweighing this.
Yeah. And for me, what it really was freedom and flexibility. When I dreaded being like something small as this, being at work and it was time to take a vacation, anniversary, something like that, and your wife says, hey, can you go ahead and take off? We want to go to Hawaii. And I go and I'm looking to see what days I can get off, and I can't take because Bob or Philip has seniority. And you grow up thinking that's how it goes, but after a while I started being around other entrepreneurs. I'm like, I don't like this. This doesn't sit well with me. Having to orchestrate two different schedules just to do one thing. And so it's not a bad place to be at 59 and a half, but I started to think, what do I want more? So I wanted the time freedom.
And that's a huge common thing around entrepreneurs, whether it be on Propelio or any other YouTube random thing, is it's less about the money and more about the freedom of to be able to do what you want. So if your wife, your husband, whoever was like, hey, let's go to Hawaii, and if you have the means, go. But you're right, if you have a job, anchor, whatever you want to call it, you can't do that.
Yeah, another perspective that I see on this, and I really identify with you because I think what's becoming a lot more popular is the psychoanalysis of who we are. Are you visionaries? Are you integrators? Are you more of an employee type? And I think there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, everybody should go this route. Everybody should be an entrepreneur. Everyone, you know, can live and have this freedom. And I actually disagree, because not everybody wants that responsibility.
Right.
Not everybody has that vision.
Yes.
And it sounds like you're somebody, and I can identify because I was raised in an employee mindset as well. And I didn't realize until I started surrounding myself with people in this industry that I identified with that kind of thinking, and that I wanted that kind of freedom, and I felt like that was something I could achieve. But there are people out there that get into real estate and think, oh, this is the path. Well, no, maybe you don't need to create your own company and reinvent the wheel. Maybe you just need to do some deals and partner and cushion your income. And I think that's keeping it real too, because you don't have to scale to the levels of some of these people out there. And I think that's why I like your story so much about collecting the rentals, because you got out of you didn't rely on the wholesaling like most people do.
And like I said, when I started to share what I was doing and I started to get traction and building, you know, following people, starting to say, what are you doing? You know, people started to ask, because they started to put you in a box with everyone else. Why you haven't quit your job?
Right.
And, you know, you do many deals. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, I'm not trying to quit my job to get another, you know, and rely on the next deal, deal. I said, if I quit my job, I'm really trying to quit my job.
Right.
You know, and so my thing, when people were asking me, I was thinking like, I'm quitting my job when I don't have to do another deal in my life if I don't want to. And that's kind of how my mentality, you know, behind it. And it's different for everybody.
Well, I will say, like, because my respect for you is fairly high. And the main reason being is when we were in Phoenix for the All In Guys thing, you know, I was like, you saw me chatted up with Troy Fullwood, and I introduced Troy to Brian, and Brian he immediately went from being an expert to being a student like that, like just soaking in everything Troy had to say. And in this era of the Facebook guru or the social media, you know, whatever, it was really cool to see somebody who has a pedestal of sorts to shift to being a student on a dime. And I was like, that guy's smart. I like him. So I gained a tremendous respect for you in that one moment.
I appreciate it.
I never
man.
said that, but here you go.
I appreciate it.
That's awesome. I mean, I think you have to be in this industry, because real estate, there's so many different pathways, and I think people can get overwhelmed when they're getting started as to where to go. That's why knowing the creative strategies is so key.
I think another thing that's big that we should touch on is that with so much noise and so much marketing, it's so easy to get lost in not going for what you want, but going for what someone else says you should have.
Yes.
And then, you know, you feeling like, what do I really want? Because originally when I told you I got into real estate, I wanted freedom. You know, just like you see a guy 70 years old on his deathbed, I think they've done studies about this, and you ask him, do you want him to deposit $20 million in your bank account, or would you want 15 years back? It's almost going to be 99% are going to take the 15 years over 20
I
mil.
don't even think it's 15 years. It's probably like 1 or 2 years.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
So if you can be wise enough to think in the future before you get there, everybody really wants the same thing. They want freedom to do what they want, when they want, with who they want. And so I was like, what is going to get me there? You know what I mean? It could be scaling this super large business, or it could be income that comes in without me being there.
And
for
that's,
me,
and that's how it's got to fit you. And
gotta fit you, yeah.
You don't have to be the entrepreneur or the CEO. Everyone's like, be a CEO. You don't have to be the CEO.
I think a lot of people don't spend enough time with themselves to really deep dive and think, what do I really want? Because it's so easy to get persuaded because of marketing of what you should have, and this is what success is, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember before me and my partner met up, I was like, look, man, I said, look, I don't have to do any more deals. This is what I want. I do feel like we could build explosive wholesale business. But I told him straight up, I was like, man, what we build, I want it to be unique. I don't want to go back to an office, even if it's my office. I don't want to have to be somewhere in 8 hours in a day. I don't care how much money we're making. Can we build something like that?
I love it.
And that's what we're building right now.
And so why don't we just go into that? What have you built? How have you structured it to look different?
Absolutely. So right now, what's really popular is a remote business, virtual deals. Office is stationary. Everybody reports there for an 8-hour period, and the deals are done virtual. Well, the office is virtual. All right. All of our meetings, acquisitions, dispositions, they're all on certain days. Lead management, in the company meeting starts that's on a Monday. We all do those through Zoom calls. Okay. Track the KPIs through the book traction. We have measurable scorecards. We do all of that, but we do it virtual. But our acquisitions managers, right now, they actually go out to their appointments. And it works two ways, which that we like. First of all, it allows us to be completely free and flexible, but also we don't get limited to our talent because our acquisition managers, we don't care what they do all day long as they take care of these leads. And our acquisitions procedures, leads must be followed up within 24 hours, and we track all of that in the CRM. So not only does it give us flexibility, it gives everybody that works for our company flexibility too.
But you're also saving a lot of money because if you don't have a brick and mortar location, I mean, and I know that may seem insignificant, but you throw the commercial word in front of rental, then all of a sudden your 100 square foot whatever turns into a gajillion dollars just because it's commercial.
And it goes back to there's not one right or which was wrong.
Right.
It went back to being honest and true to yourself. What do you really want? Are you building what you really want, or you're just kind of following the leader,
Right.
or what people say you should build?
And they're trying to sit in a seat that they just might not be designed for,
Exactly.
or trying to create it. So, out of curiosity, are you only in the Houston market? Are you in many markets?
We're in Houston surrounding.
And surrounding.
Yeah.
So you keep it fairly local then.
Fairly local. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of ascribe to. I understand that certain markets can get really saturated, but there is so much available in Houston, DFW, etc. I mean, there's a lot here. I think Jamie
Absolutely.
Woolley once said, she tried to do the virtual, but she's like, this is my home market, and there's plenty here.
Plenty deals.
And-
Especially when you start opening up your acquisition strategies.
Yes.
Because all of the deals that you would have threw away because they don't fit the formula, you can still make 6 figures plus on these deals and have, of course, over time, through notes and things like
Even
this.
if it's a referral business, like if you don't have a realtor on your team and you're like, hey, I'm going to do this marketing fee to kick it over to my realtor friend over here. There's always, if you can get a good lead, there's always a disposition source.
Monetize, some way.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So, what is the kind of volume that you're doing with that structure now?
Okay, so we do about 5 to 7 deals. So about 5 wholesale deals.
Okay.
And about 2 creative. When I say creative, usually owner finance, subject to, or assigning a subject to
Right.
deal, something like that.
And how big is your team?
We have 8 employees, 7 are full-time, and 1 part-time.
Okay.
Now,
That's a pretty big team.
are those commission-based, hourly rate, commission? I mean, not to get too into it.
No, a little bit of both. Most of them are commission. Lead managers are hourly.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have 3 lead managers. We have 3 acquisitions managers. We had lost one. One finally, he was a cop, and he didn't really have, much time. So we lost one. We just replaced it. So we got 3 acquisitions, 3 lead managers, 1 dispo manager,
Okay.
1 admin.
And the golden question, because I'm always curious, is what CRM are you using?
This is gonna blow you guys. We're actually using CRM called Todoist.
Okay.
So it's kind of like
I feel like I've heard of this one.
That's not a CRM though.
We use it as a CRM.
Because I used to have Todoist.
It's pretty cool. We use it
It's
as
just
a CRM.
a task manager.
It is.
Look at him. He's
so-
flipping this market.
He's like, we can
Because-
spend the next 2 hours talking about Todoist. Look how.
Because when I
Like,
was by myself, I used Podio.
Yeah.
I used Podio. My partner was using Todoist. Well, it was just me, a lead manager, and 1 VA. So I was fairly small, but I told you I was happy with my little,
Yeah.
my operation. Well, he already, had a few, employees, and they were all using Todoist already. So I'm like, bro, you got to switch to Podio. Like, Podio's fully customizable. He said, man, I used Podio, and I didn't like it. I used this and that. I'm like, all right, cool.
It's a love-hate.
So we might be switching back to, but we use Todoist. It works for us.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Grant Kemp yesterday about this. Well, very little about this, but about how like people will have barriers to doing business with like the CRM or this and that, and how like in my earlier days of real estate, doing over 50 houses a year off Google Sheets and
No
Google Voice.
CRM, right?
Yeah.
No CRM.
No
I love
CRM.
that. People get really hung up on the tools that they're using,
Yeah.
and I can speak for myself too. Like, I mean, I just do custom stuff because none of the CRMs out there, I needed more project management based, and really, unless you build it out customizable, that's not even a word. Unless you customize Propelio. But what I realized is like you can really have a high volume operation on things like Trello and Asana and Todoist and those types of things. Now, if you're having leads come in, depending on your marketing, you might want to manage that a little bit better, but it works and you're living proof of it.
So I will say it's just because the man on YouTube says, would love to learn more about how you would set up Todoist for real estate.
Oh, you're gonna have to talk to my partner Byron. I used Propelio.
He's like, I love the Propelio camp.
It's easy to work with, though. I mean, it's really easy. Same thing when a lead manager puts the lead in the CRM, they can assign it or they can or mention other team members. Same deal. Once the lead, so we got the dialogue, what's going on with the lead. Once when that week is over and we go to the company meeting, we move that to hot follow-up if it's, if they didn't get the contract, move to hot follow-up, cold, dead lead, so on. And just,
and what people don't realize either is sometimes before you make a system that is custom, you have to understand how your business is operating.
Right.
How can you actually, and people dump thousands of dollars into Propelio and then they're like, I just went back and forth, and people have a love-hate. And I think the core of that problem is you need to know how your business is running on templates that are maybe freer or new. Like that's why I run most everything off Asana and another system until I know the operation, and then I can build it out.
I think it goes back to what we were talking about as far as just going follow what everybody is pitching you instead of taking a deep dive. What are you doing? What do you want to do? What works for you?
Yeah, exactly.
Note cards works.
Huh?
Simply
cards,
note cards.
Y'all, I still have Post-it notes all over my desk. Like I just have them
works.
everywhere because it works.
I know of friends that done $1 million, without a CRM.
Yeah.
People doing $250,000 by themselves on Excel.
Yeah.
So
the moral of the story is, if you're blaming technology for why you haven't done anything, get that out the door.
And I think that's a good segue to a break. And then because Jay Johnson, he was saying Slack is a good one too. So I would agree.
Yeah,
I love Slack. If you're enjoying what you're seeing today, please drop a like, a heart, a share, all the above. We got quite a few people watch on Facebook and YouTube. So drop in the comments, where are you watching from? And when do you like Brian? Do you not like Brian? How long have you been following Brian? Or house buying Brian? And questions, all the above. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get more into keeping it real.
Keeping it real.
In real estate, yeah.
Hey y'all, welcome back. We are about 20 minutes into a conversation with Brian here from Houston. We left off at a really cool spot about how he uses Todoist to manage all of his deals. So if you missed that, make sure you rewatch earlier. But I would love to jump kind of back in and stay along the lines of the tools and how you run your business, because before we came on, you and I were talking about how a lot of people don't understand what a healthy real estate business looks like, right? You look, we were talking about how you see everybody, you think you should do it a certain way, you think you should be modeling your business a certain way, but in reality, that $10,000 wholesale fee, how much of it do you really keep?
Absolutely, oh man.
So I really like what you had to say about it, and I'd love to just kind of dive into that about kind of what the expectations are when people are getting started and what it takes to even scale small or even large. Like, what should people be thinking about when they're going into their first deals or thinking about getting into real estate?
Gotcha. So first of all, you're talking about expectations from first starting. I know the biggest question I understand is, how long is it going to take you to do your first deal? And someone might say, hey, Ryan, how long did it take you to do your first deal? Why are they asking that? Because they're using that to kind of a gauge for them. And I think that's a bad idea, because what if it does take you, 8 months while the other person closed their first deal in 6 weeks? I feel like that's a mindset based on, what if you don't hear what you want? You're going to give up? So it's one of those things. My answer is, for them, it's until. So the cool thing about it is, you work, and as you talk to sellers, you find out what doesn't work. I said this, that didn't really work. Let me, you tweak, you make adjustments, till you do your first deal. All right, you do a couple deals. Now you start to look at, even first starting, what I wasn't doing that, I find it so important now is tracking those metrics. So now, just like probability, once you do your first deal, now you've been tracking, okay, how many leads did it take? How many people did I have to talk to? How much money did I spend? And now you have something measurable, that you can replicate. So I think as far as expectations, your expectation and mentality should be until I get the first deal. And then you see everything it took you to get the first deal, and then it speeds up. And from there, I feel like you continue to perfect your craft before you start outsourcing. Because a lot of people, as soon as they do a deal, I need to hire this cold caller. You don't even know how to talk to them on the phone.
I am so glad that you
so wait up. You're gonna hire somebody, and you're gonna teach them how to talk on the phone. They're only gonna be a percentage of how good you are, and then you're gonna pay them. Oh man, you about to be so frustrated. You're gonna be so frustrated.
We just had this. I had this conversation with someone recently because it's like they want to get into real estate, and they're like, but I'm working full time, so I want to hire a cold caller. I want to hire acquisitions, and my question to them is, do you even really know how to close the deals and talk to people? And then I don't even think people have a healthy expectation about what it takes to train and onboard. It's the most expensive part of your business, right? I mean, I think Grant actually told me just the other day, in hiring, like if you hire the wrong person, it costs you twice as much or something like that along those lines.
I wouldn't.
But that time is so valuable, and so just the time it takes to do that. Super glad you said that. That's a huge part of it.
So I wouldn't be outsourcing or outsourcing anything until I'm a pro at it or very good at it. That's another thing. And also as far as expectations, when you hear these numbers being thrown around, you need to be. You remember we was having that conversation. Is that I was so gullible when I first started, because I was like, real estate, you make a lot of money, and people like to throw around big numbers. Like you see realtors, they dress nice, drive nice cars, and they throw, I did 2 million in sales, 1 million in sales. But just starting in real estate, you probably don't understand that a realtor gets paid based on the transaction size. A percentage of the transaction. So that $2 million is really $120,000 before taxes. That $1 million is really $60,000. So and then with the wholesale business, you start hearing $100K. You're like, oh, I want to do that. But a healthy profit margin is 30-40%.
Real quick, hey Trey, can you unplug the XLR outs on that audio board? The two, because we're going to USB now, and then we'll be.
Are we live?
We're live.
Oh, okay.
Technical difficulties.
Okay.
We're fixing stuff.
Cool.
On the fly. On the fly. This is Propelio TV.
About 30 to 40% is a healthy margin.
So understanding that you're gonna need to put aside marketing. You have percentages to pay for employees, overhead, and things like that.
Exactly.
And so from there, once you know that, now you could probably stop and be like, okay, what do I really want?
Yeah, and I think learning how to really look at those finances in the beginning. I know a lot of people are big fans of Profit First. I'm a big fan of that book, but it teaches you.
Is that Mike?
Yeah. I can never pronounce his last name.
I've never heard of it.
Profit First?
Profit First is it's a game changer. It really opened up my eyes because here's what we found out when we had first gotten started as well. It's like, we were closing pretty big wholesale fees. But we were bleeding cash because we weren't really understanding. We were putting basically everything back into marketing without holding some back for other things. And it was just, we weren't able to see the small shifts in kind of some things. And anyway, long story short, once we read that book, we were like, whoa, we should reallocate, because that keeps your operating expenses in check. If you're kind of dividending out your funds that way, they can get out of hand real quick. Because I know some people ascribe to, hey, we aren't spending enough on marketing. That's all good and well, but it still has to be in proportion to what you're doing. You can't just, blindly write the checks if you don't even know your numbers, if you don't even know if your marketing's working, what your cost of acquisitions are. And sure, this might sound a little bit advanced, but if you go into real estate knowing that that's something that you have to monitor, that's a healthy business. And if you aren't setting it up healthy from the start, we all know how quickly that turns.
Yeah.
For sure. We also were talking about how the health in the business isn't always market conditions, right? So things can shift, and a lot of people are watching only the real estate market.
Talk about, where's your phone? Talk about, look at this.
I mean, you probably
when
can't
I was
even
talking
see
about
this.
ownership, I was like, that's why, man.
Yeah, I was talking to him about, I don't know if any of you are with Verizon, but they just sent a message out 2 days ago where they're starting now to block out non-carrier phone calls to mobile numbers. So if you guys are cold calling out there or SMSing, trust me, you're now being screened and blocked. And I think AT&T
RVMs.
does it. So your RVMs, all of that stuff now is getting flagged, and it shows up as this V with a really long number on it. And I got 2 calls today that were automatically filtered, and I ignored them.
But that right there shows, okay, so now there's a new problem.
Opportunity.
The opportunity.
That's
so
true.
if you could figure out a way to get around that or hack that or whatever, then you've just elevated your place in the market.
It's gonna wash some people out.
It
There's
will.
opportunity there.
Some people aren't gonna get past it. Yeah.
But that's the point, right? It's not always a shift in the actual market or the economy. Sometimes it's just a shift in saturation in the market. Maybe too many people doing certain strategies, changes in technology.
It's always a pivot, yeah.
Always a pivot that you have to do. And so I do have a quick question for you then. So what kind of marketing are you actually doing to get those deals?
Okay. We do text messaging. We do RVMs. We do cold calling. We don't have Facebook campaign running right now. PPC.
Okay.
Yeah, we do PPC. We do pretty good at PPC. So PPC, text message, RVM, cold calling.
Right, and I think a lot of those things ebb and flow into their effectiveness. I'm sure that if you've been doing it for several years now, you'll notice like even direct mail is starting to come back with a better return rate because so many people stopped.
Yeah.
So
well, the PPC as well, because like PPC, huge 5-6 years ago. Oh, it's burnout. It doesn't work. Blah blah. It's too expensive. And then everybody stops doing it, or the people that were doing it aren't in the marketplace anymore.
And then it opens it up for you.
Right, and and then we were just talking about
Cycles.
with Verizon and all that. If a lot of your marketing is the cold call RVMs and whatnot, and then find that opportunity.
You might have to
on the
start
flip
putting up
side.
some bandit signs, right?
we're going full circle, y'all.
That's what happens,
But
right?
that's the thing is, it usually is. It's always full circle.
Cycle. Nothing new under the sun.
Well, because Dan Costa, Don
Sorry,
Costa,
Don.
he because I remember talking to him about, or maybe it was RJ talking. I don't know if I talked to RJ. Somebody talked to him about how, direct mail. He still sends out over 1 million mailers, and in my thinking, I'm like,
Why?
why? Because in
It's working for
DFW, well, I know it's working for
Yeah.
him, but like here, I would be like, you're crazy. Why would you do that? Because most mail gets thrown away, but does it? Because it's that cycle. I don't know. I just wanted to.
No, that's just true.
Yeah, I mean, it's cyclical in that, and I think in terms of how they're getting hit is super important, which is why it's so crucial that you're watching your numbers, because if you're starting to see your marketing return diminish, it's time to either layer on another strategy, because if that one drops off completely, I believe Sal and Carlos talked about this, that you have to be prepared. You can't just drop it all together and start fresh, or you're not really able to monitor what the market's really doing.
Yeah. You can get wiped out by one change.
You can.
Yeah.
Right.
Very, very quickly. But then again, you also don't need to do 10 different strategies. So I think when they're in the same wheelhouse, like RVM, SMS, and cold calling, like you're still dealing with the same numbers per se. You're not like putting together mailers, and that's a whole nother operation in and of itself. So
What's your favorite?
Marketing?
Yeah, marketing strategy.
Do you even do the marketing anymore?
No,
No, he's thinking, should I share it
No,
or keep it in my pocket?
probably RVMs, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I've had a few people say that.
It's
but
probably RVMs. It's like cheating.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's going to change really
will.
fast. I promise it's going to change.
So expand
I
on that,
promise
though.
RVM's about to change
Right.
really fast.
I
But
agree.
assuming it stays the same, when you say it's like cheating, obviously you say that because you get a high return on that. What is it about RVMs that excites you? What do you like about it so much?
Mass. You can reach. So we know it's a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
That's why when people cold call, they have a whole slew of cold callers, right? Why? So they can run through more leads faster, right? To get that one pearl, and you know and you're tracking the numbers. Well,
Yeah.
You know, the RVMs, you could touch 30,000 people in a day if I wanted to, right?
Yeah, you don't even
and
have to
quickly
be on
get a
the phone.
response. Are you interested or not? So I like that. I think second place probably would be PPC. Text message is cool. You get cursed out a lot. This is text message is cool.
Yeah.
But I would say second would be PPC because it's direct response marketing. You know, usually that's some of the hottest leads. You know, it's not a lot. It's not a huge volume, but the ones you get, they're usually pretty
quality.
motivated.
So to put you on the spot, though, you know, Casey was just talking about that text message she got from Verizon, and I don't think it'll wipe out that entire marketing, but you do have to pivot, you do have to change. Do you have any initial thoughts on that? I know you've only had like a few minutes to think about it, but
No, I love it. Like you said, man, I've been transformed. I'm the opportunity seeker. The problems are great because everybody start.
Yeah.
I remember when what was that, Illinois, about the license thing?
Oh, was it Illinois?
right, how you had to be licensed.
Yeah,
to be a
people got
wholesaler or
all
something?
crazy. I was thinking, like, get a license, bro.
I was like, I'm one step ahead.
I got my real estate license because when I first started, it's funny, a mentor told me not to get a license. First, learn how to be an investor first. But
Yeah.
I got a real estate license in like 2 weeks. I was with Keller Williams at first, and I was like, I don't want to do this no more. So that's the opportunity. So my initial thoughts on that is opportunity. I'm thinking, you know, bandit signs mail. Bandit signs work.
They do.
They still work.
They work. That's how we got a couple. Oh, some of our biggest deals came off of bandit signs.
They still work.
Yeah, it's just you got to put in the. You always have to think on your marketing strategy, your time money trade off, right?
Yeah.
You know, and how you can scale it and how you want to scale it. But at the end of the day, I think that the thing that most people aren't willing to do, like get in their car and go run out and put bandit signs,
Yeah.
is already an opportunity because that barrier of entry is lower.
Absolutely.
You have to look at it that
And
way.
then going back to scaling, you do have opportunities like Simple Crew to get somebody else
Yeah.
to do the bandit signs for you.
Sure. Once you've mastered it, right?
Once you mastered
You
it.
said that like with such like swag.
Well, I'm laughing
Once
because
you
there is
mastered
an
it.
art to bandit signs.
It
right?
is an art.
It is.
It's an art.
Like where you place them, how far, what time of day,
How high? Yeah.
what cities. Like, I mean, there's
Yeah.
an art to every type of marketing.
What's the copy? What are you saying?
I forgot who
color?
pointed this out.
Are you running for mayor and trying to buy houses? Or
I don't know who pointed this out, but I know who said it in this group. Donovan Ruffin, he always suggests putting bandit signs low. Reason being is people in a distressed situation, they're probably going to be looking down.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Psychology, science. I don't know if it's accurate, but it sounds legit.
Got a point. The only reason we don't put them down because haters put them up. I'm like, you want to take my bandit sign, you're going to have to put some work in. So we don't put it above eye level where it's on the top, above your hood where you can't see it. But
You could just do like, and this is an invention on the spot, but like on the stake itself, make it to where at the bottom it frays out almost like a stud thingy.
Oh my gosh.
To where when you try to pull it up, you just can't.
I haven't
Dracula-
heard
I
this
see
one,
what you
but
No, I just made it up.
opportunity to design a new
A
bandit
new
sign
bandit
stake.
steak. Yeah, somebody out there. Some
You can go into business
entrepreneur,
with us. It's cool.
Make a
better
steak
to
that
sell.
flares out at the
you
bottom
can
like
sell
an arrow.
anything now.
Yeah.
Oh, so many pissed off city officials. So
Oh God,
many.
yeah, they would probably go after you and send you to jail versus give you a fine.
Exactly. They're going to look a lot harder for you
There's
now.
so many different ways to find leads. It's crazy.
It is. You
We,
just
we
gotta get
finally
creative.
got one of those problems that we're happy to have, where acquisition man, there's too many leads.
Yeah.
Like literally, you know, I remember from going towards not enough, where it's like, man, you got a few leads for like 3 acquisition man. That's like they're swamped.
Yeah.
You know.
So on that, because you do have several acquisitions team members, what do you think is the number to scale? Like, how many leads per acquisitions person is a fair amount to have before you need to get another person on your team?
Man, that really depends. That really, because it depends
It's
on the
our
operation.
favorite word in real estate.
It
It
depends.
depends.
Reason why is because there's different type of setups. There's some where inbound leads come in and acquisition managers close them over the phone, right?
Right.
We're not doing that. So of course, they could run through more leads, doing that criteria,
And even on that system, there may be 3 VAs to that one acquisition person
Acquisition
that kind of gets it cold to warm. So
right
just
now,
point that out.
our acquisitions managers, for what they do and how they qualify leads and they actually go to appointments, they're comfortable about 20 a week.
Okay.
After 20 a week, it's kind of like, we're seeing leads in the CRM.
Those
like,
are 20 appointments though, right? Or just 20 leads?
No, 20. The leads they got, they're setting appointments. So there's 20. When it comes in the CRM, it's a lead.
Got it.
You know how it'd be like
Yeah.
prospects versus lead. No,
Yeah.
these people have expressed interest. The lead manager's fully vetted that they are interested in selling,
Got it.
and they're not going to waste anybody's time to come
Well,
out
20
there, so.
appointments, that's healthy because then you're looking at 4 appointments a day, and
Yeah.
if you can close 1 in 5, that's a healthy lifestyle.
So going back then more to the prospect side, because I have owning just the transactional side of a business, I get to see kind of a little bit more of what falls through, what comes in, what doesn't. And it was interesting. One of my clients said to me the other day, they said, he's the CEO, but he's also the acquisitions, and they have usually about 15 deals open at a time, maybe like 15 to 20 in between all strategies, A to B, B to C. But I thought it was interesting because he said, I don't have enough to hire another acquisitions person. But he's running around all day, every day. And so my question is there's a difference between the leads that are qualified and the actual prospecting side. So on the prospect side, what do you feel when you turn that faucet on? At what point do you need to hire a lead manager to handle just the prospect side of the business?
Ooh, wow.
Because that's a question I think a lot of people have.
I feel like if we're trying 24 hours. If you got something that came through your pipeline in 24 hours, that seller didn't get a call, they didn't get a touch. I feel like it's time to, because now we're not holding on to what we say,
So
as far as our marketing, and now it's not aligning with integrity. Like, hey, you're
Yeah.
gonna receive this, offer within this amount of time. When we can't stay true to what we said we're gonna do, we need to either come down or outsource.
I love that
That's-
answer because it's not a number. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I think I can handle, for example, like about 40 transactions before I'm like, okay, things are falling through the cracks. So rather than put a number on it, it's just going to be the second that you have leads that are sitting for 24 hours and not touched is when
Yeah.
you should start to get help. That's a golden nugget. I hope he got one.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to gauge because you're not basing it on anyone else's experience because there could be a lead manager that can handle a lot more.
Our core values, number one, is integrity. We always do the right thing. And if we're telling homeowners we're going to do this, right? Anytime the business changes so we can't do what we say we're going to do, we make adjustments.
I love that.
Because it starts to affect your brand and your name, so.
This video.
I know. I'm writing notes because I interview for my own benefit, y'all. And I hope you benefit
You're like,
from
oh,
my
this is
notes.
a video?
This is good. This is
I'll
good.
just keep it for myself.
No, I think that's such a great answer on how to monitor that. So, in terms of other areas of the business that maybe you've discovered or maybe things you've picked up on that show a healthy business, are there any other aspects of what you're doing that you could kind of speak to that are good indicators that you need to either pivot, switch, maybe some things aren't working right, or maybe a better way to gauge how you're going to do a part of the business?
So, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm still learning the whole, big team thing, I would say one of the key things is that we got from the book Traction is issues. I like that. I feel like that's healthy.
Yeah.
In the book Traction, it says, issues, we don't let them fester. We don't let them hide under the rug. Be open. If there's a problem, there's an issue, we talk about it. We bring it, hey, the lead manager isn't doing this. This is what's going on. Hey, the dispo manager isn't doing, or hey, I need help doing this. How can we help you be successful? So issues, being able to address issues in your company and having everybody feel comfortable with just putting it on the table. I feel like that's healthy. As far as all the other things, guys, I'm still learning. I'm literally, managing 7 employees, and I went from, this is what I like. This is Brian Iregbu. I like being in someone's living room, kitchen table, and just asking them open-ended questions, using all of the psychology, trying to help make a friend, structure a deal, right?
Right.
But I'm not doing that anymore. And I'm gonna be honest, I miss it. Now it's managing people. So I'm still learning.
Yeah.
So before we go to break, Donovan Richards has a great question. What KPIs do you focus on the most that has the biggest impact on your business?
That's a good one.
Oh, that was a good question.
That's why live
Wow.
is great. That's why
That's
live
a great
is
question.
They do the job for us.
Definitely leads. The amount of leads. The amount of leads. The amount of contracts and offers made. Those 3.
So interesting. Those are all on the acquisition side.
Yeah. Because Byron is looking at cost per lead, and things like that. My partner, he's the nerd. He's the tech nerdy KPI numbers guy.
He's your integrator.
And I'm the make people feel warm and fuzzy.
But from a real estate
teaching
standpoint, and I know people want it because the psychology is like, hey, what do I do now? How do I make the money? What do I make the money? But it goes back to, if you've got a good deal, money will find you.
Yeah.
If you've got the deal, you're gonna find a way to partner on it, dispose of it, or close it. And that's almost, I don't want to say easy, because nothing in real estate is easy.
Nothing is easy.
But that's the
that's
exit.
here. Everything else is down. I mean, money.
Yeah.
You make money in real estate what? When you
Close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Or when you buy it.
When you buy. I thought you meant you don't.
We actually
count
thought
your,
actual
Yeah,
money.
funded. Yeah, when it's funded.
He's looking at us like we're stupid.
like,
It's
are
time for a break.
when on the front end of the transaction.
Yes.
Whether it's a
Right.
wholesale, the contract price is where the
yeah.
profit.
Where do you make the money on the flip? You make
Exactly.
it on the front end before
front
you even
end.
put any money into
Exactly.
it.
See, here's where I go wrong, because I own a TC business, so to me, you don't have money
talking
until
about
that
funding.
stuff closes, all right?
Well,
Closed and funded.
and
Don't
I've
count
been-
your chickens, right?
And again, I've been in this
talking about the
business long enough that that $100,000 assignment, whatever, or that $100,000 flip, by the time it gets to closing, there might have been errors. There may have been, who knows, the amount of crap that we don't need to list it, but that deal might have completely blown up. So, counting your chickens before they hatch that's a no-go. But I agree with what you're saying of, yes, you make your money how you structure it.
Yeah, on the front end. So
But that was funny though. We're both like,
Y'all
closing.
should have seen the look you gave us. It was
I'm like, huh?
You're like, do y'all even do what? This is real estate, right?
typical way in real estate. There's
On
always
that
another angle.
awkward moment, I think it's time to go to a break.
And we'll be right back once we
back.
collect ourselves.
Exactly. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at Propelio.com. This is Steve. Steve is a successful real estate investor. Steve is wearing glasses, so therefore he's a successful real estate investor. You go, Steve. Go, Steve, go. Go get those dollars. You see that blue dot? That's Steve. Just looking at houses left and right. Let him go. Get the Propelio mobile app and drive for dollars today. All without leaving your car. So, welcome back. Casey, what are we going to talk about now?
Hey.
I only did that because she's like, you're bringing us back, right? What are we doing?
Well,
Anyway.
Brian commented that somebody said that it was a crazy good interview. So I'm super excited that y'all are engaging. Keep doing that, please, and ask some questions because I can't read the screen, but Ryan can, and he can ask them for you guys. I love where this conversation's going, even though we disagreed on where you make the money on it.
No, we agreed. We just weren't. it depended on what the point of the question was.
That is very true.
Because both answers were correct.
I would like to kind of ask you, and I hope this isn't too
Personal?
not too personal, just too out there. But
I thought the title was keeping it real. I'm going to keep it real.
I guess I kind of want to ask you, now that you've been doing it for a little bit of time, and now that as you're evolving and looking at the business and kind of shifting and growing, what is your actual vision? Because you've quit your job, right?
Yeah.
You're full into real estate now. Do you find that you're working towards a vision that is pretty set, or do you feel like that's actually still evolving and you're still trying to figure it out?
Honestly, I do feel like it's ever evolving. Just in the short term vision, what I can see right now is more rentals for more freedom, so more doors, right? Really looking to land, first apartment complex this year. So that's on my vision board, and also more teaching and educating people to do the same. Because, guys, I am really, really, really happy and thankful, for what has came, as far as really like, wow, this is everything I kind of, really want. Minus the, the super, super expensive cars and houses, but as far as the freedom, I got exactly, what I wish for. So the vision is just more real estate, owning more real estate, not doing more deals, owning more real estate.
Key difference.
Yeah, owning more real estate and teaching others how to do the same if they had the same inspiration I had, if they have the same goals I had as far as the freedom, being able to teach other people how to do the same. So in the short term, it's that, but it's ever evolving. I'm sure God has a lot more, so.
Awesome.
It's pretty simple. More units and teach other people how to do the same.
Well, just because you did mention the interaction and the questions, and we do have some great questions. Phil Farmer is asking, what service do you use for RVMs?
RVMs, we actually use a software called Roar.
Roar?
Yeah.
There you go, Phil. Roar.
Here you go, Phil. Should we do a lightning round of questions?
Yeah.
Lightning round.
Lightning
Bring it.
round? So
Yeah,
y'all can, if you
that or
want to
just-
ask the most random questions you can, but I'll kick it off.
Okay.
So a question I always like to ask guests is, what is a book that has impacted you the most? It could be personal, business, anything during your real estate journey.
It gotta be Rich Dad Poor Dad. I want to give you something different. If you haven't read that book,
I'm
and
gonna start betting on when people say that that's gonna be their book. No,
if
it's a
you
good
haven't
one.
read Rich Dad Poor Dad, that changed my life.
For
Changed my
me,
life.
reading that book was how I shifted my mindset. And I get that question all
That's
the
it.
time. People say, how do you shift? And it's just exposing yourself to alternative information. You can take with it what you want, but that one was like,
Well, that
It was kind
also,
of like, wow, I was lost.
yeah, or that money is a utility to make more money versus just buying stuff.
Exactly.
That's true.
And you don't save to make a bigger purchase. You save to invest. You save for capital. Because I was like, man, you saving money so I could buy something that costs more, right?
Right.
A consumer mindset, right?
that's
Instead
true.
of production. So it really shifted my mindset.
It's funny because like
And
when
let the assets pay for the liabilities.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want a Porsche? Not against a Porsche. You want a Ferrari? Not against a Ferrari. Let your business pay for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Or let those 3 units pay for that, new Jaguar or something like that.
Yeah,
That
one
was
of my
cool.
favorite books is the Rich Dad Poor Dad. Not shit. That's what you just said.
Original.
I know.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
Well,
So original.
I'm just gonna repeat everything. No, Richest Man in Babylon is.
Okay.
And I recently.
I cannot get through that book. I don't
was
know
it you
why
that-
people
It
love
is
that
kind of
book.
it is
maybe
kind
it
of
was
boring.
either you or Katie, but I was like, because I read it like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. And I was like, wow, this is a good book. But everybody I've referred to it lately, they're like, this is a shitty book. And I'm like,
The
but
content is good.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean-
a little rough. It's just a
Yeah.
different
I know you could
style.
sum it up by saying, the first 10% of every money
Yeah.
in, pay yourself.
Yeah.
Invest
by
in what
putting-
you know
yeah.
about, wise counsel, fatten your purse. I think it's a really good book. It's like biblical principles, like
Yeah.
Proverbs. That's
Yeah.
what I get from Richest Man in Babylon.
You should read.
It's a
You
good
should read The Richest Man That Ever Lived by Stephen Scott.
Never heard of it.
It is based off of Solomon, and it's
Really?
business principles based on basically Proverbs. So it's maybe it's just a different version. But anyway,
Never
we
read
digress.
that.
So
Thank you.
Zola 696. What? When getting started in a market, what marketing steps do you take, and how long are you marketing to the certain market for before you move on to a different market? Only because they said market a lot.
Are they talking about like the market that they're in,
Market
or
or marketing strategy?
strategy? Because that's two different things. I'm kind of curious.
Before you go, like, say you were wanting to expand to DFW, what marketing steps would you take, and how before you? I don't know.
All right. Well, to get in another market, I'd probably try something aggressive. You know what I mean? Like a huge text campaign, REM campaign. But if I'm somewhere in a home market, I would start with courthouse data, and skip tracing the numbers and just start cold calling. And as far as before I move to another market, I wouldn't, because it works. So keep going until, because if there's other people, being successful in that market, you can too. So
Yeah.
Wilmot Rose and from Baltimore. Brian, quick, how did you wholesale your first owner finance deal, doc? Also, do you owner finance stock? Or do you buy owner finance? Deals, maybe?
Yeah, do you do owner finance deals?
Absolutely.
Well, how did you do your first wholesale?
Yeah, they're
one?
asking when you did your first one.
My second deal was actually an owner finance deal. I actually bought it on a wraparound mortgage. I was in 2014. My first was, I think I did this on Max's channel. It was supposed to be a hotel that I did all wrong. But my second one was a wraparound mortgage. So my very first one, how did that work out? It was actually a police officer that lived in my market. She had her property listed with Keller Williams for like 2 years, and she said it hadn't sold. And I went in the house and I was like, why do you think it hasn't? I knew it didn't show well. The carpet was saturated with, just pet. She had it's just pretty nasty. But anyway, I said, have you considered, letting someone take over your mortgage payments, making payments on your behalf? She said, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I said, really? And I said, of course you can. And I said, she said, my realtor never taught me. I said, I know she didn't, right?
Yeah.
And so, I kind of, we structured it a certain way. It was an owner finance deal, and that was my first owner finance deal. For you guys that don't know, Subject 2 is a form of owner financing. It falls under the umbrella of owner financing. So that was how I did my first deal. She was more than happy. Probably about 4 months later, her credit went up, because she was always one payment behind. So they won't foreclose on you, but you'll always be ding on your credit every 30 days, ding on your credit. So her credit started to come up. She had all of the, the burden lifted of that property, and I was like, this is cool.
I like it.
And then I just continued to learn more and do more of those, and so that was my first owner finance deal.
Dante McClendon has a great question that Casey would love to ask if she could see it.
I can't
So
read.
I'll ask for her. What is the best way to keep yourself accountable to your goals? P.S. He likes the hat.
Huh?
How do you keep accountable?
So I'm just automatically held accountable, because you got partners and employees, so you're gonna get caught on your shit, right? But scorecard, some having some type of scorecard, a metric that you use. So even if you're by yourself solo, having some type of checklist. So if you had a checklist, like, okay, you made, record, even if it's not like Compound. This book right here, look.
No, we were just talking about.
I seen this on the shelf and I was like, man, this is a great book. This is my top 5. In this book, they talk about tracking. If you want to do well in anything, you track it, and you measure it. So keep myself accountable. Even if I didn't make one call, I would put that big fat 0 so I could look at it.
Yeah,
So tracking.
Yeah, to kind of add to that, that's something that kind of changed my business. Was if you don't know what KPIs to track, a really good starting point is, okay, well, what am I doing every day? Is it how many calls I'm supposed to make calls? What's my goal? If I'm supposed to be, following up with X amount of people, you literally put all of those things down, whatever the duties are of everyone on your team. You set a goal and you track it every week. What is the number for that day? And when you start to see that you haven't hit that goal three weeks in a row,
That's your answer, right?
that's your answer. You either need to adjust it or you need to replace who's doing that. But it's like a scorecard. It's like a health kind of meter to keep everybody in check. And we just do it on a Google sheet myself.
So basically, it's a key performance indicator, but it can be as archaic as you want or complex as you want. But you gotta have something that you're looking at, some type of metric to not be blind.
Yeah, and you can adjust it as you go. It's not set in stone. The KPIs are going to change, and you're going to have different ways to measure the health of your business.
And on that, I just want to throw in something we were talking about completely different is you can make any data say anything. Yeah. So stay true to
stay true to you.
Stay true to you, but also don't I can't talk right now, but don't make data show exactly what you want it to show.
You know what's funny?
Make the data show what you need it to show.
Yeah.
It reminds me of being like in elementary school in PE when you're supposed to be doing squat thrusts and the gym teacher turns around and he said, "You're only cheating yourself when you try to."
Yeah.
It's true. You're the only one looking
jumping
at
jacks and you're like, you stop. You're like, you're only cheating yourself. And as you grow up, you really understand what that meant, right?
Yeah.
Well, like in a cold calling world, if like my metric is I need to make 300 calls a day, but if those calls are just, hey, you there? Okay, bye, click. Well, those aren't good calls, So you have to marry that with something other that's
yeah,
relevant.
like how many conversations, like I used to
Minutes
play
or
a game
whatever.
with myself is like, how long can I keep them on the phone? Even
Yeah.
if they're cussing me
Oh,
out.
really?
That was like my favorite thing to do. Because it just taught me to stay in the game. Like, because we just say, oh, move on to the next. And people have different theories about that. But my point being is like, sometimes I would just measure like, ooh, how long did I keep them that time? And it just made me more comfortable. And honestly, my numbers improved just by doing something like that. So track whatever you guys think is going to benefit you and adjust it as you go.
And Chris Monroe, I think from St. Louis, he was hating on Richest Man in Babylon as well. More haters. If you hate that book or don't like it, just drop the comments that you're like, ugh.
I'll give you another accountability trick is that works pretty well if you want to try it, is documenting. Get leverage on yourself by documenting what you're doing or what you say you're going to do. I've read that in a few books too.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're making a pledge to the public. So the public, is. I remember one time I was like, man, I need to get back in this gym. And I just knew that I just conveniently missed every gym day. But when I got a gym partner and agreed to be there at a certain time, it's different.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll let ourselves down, but we won't let someone else down.
Yeah, I think that is so key in this business too, because I think when you don't feel like you're doing well or if you're having issues, we tend to kind of curl up into our own ball and we don't speak out, when in reality, everyone's probably had them. And if you reached out and just said, hey, I need you to help keep me accountable for this, trust me, we're an awesome community of real estate investors. We'll all help keep each other accountable. So reaching out and having someone do that for you is so key.
And on that, I remember I read what book this was in. Og Mandino, University of Success. It was talking about how some people like to have friends that make them feel comfortable, that they won't call them on their shits, but ideally you want the type of friends that are gonna tell you, bro, you've been slipping. Bro, you're not doing this. You could go way harder than this. You're not doing this, right? Instead of, a friend that, they'll feel comfortable. They'll let you just go on by and not call you. So that's another thing as far as accountability. Befriending or being around people that don't tolerate mediocrity.
Yeah.
They're gonna call you out on it.
I love it. It's true.
Donovan Richard, he had another question. If you have, we're wrapping up, so if you have good questions, drop them in. We may get them, may not. But this one, Mr. Richard is dropping great questions.
Great questions, huh?
What are the 3 questions you ask potentially motivated sellers to determine their motivation level?
Oh.
Yeah.
My favorite 3 is time. So how soon are you looking to get this done? You could ask that in a variety of ways. So that really gives you an indicator of like how quickly they're looking to move. And then of course it's almost a setup because you could always follow that why so soon, So the next question, so number 1 is time. Number 2 for me is the number 1 most important question, why are you selling? And I can do that in a number of ways. So why are you looking to sell? I mean, why are you trying to get rid of this property, Mr. Seller? So why they're selling is number 2. And number 3, which I use specifically because I like, creative finance deals. And this is really kind of like a setup. What do you plan to do if it doesn't sell?
That's a good one, actually. I haven't heard a lot of people use that right at the
Because it's a setup for other structures. Because if you say something like, oh, well, I'm just going to keep it. Well, I know you're not that motivated. Oh, wow, I got to sell. Well, you just told me something.
Yeah, that's true.
Or I'm just going to rent it out. Oh, so you're willing to take a stream of income. Wouldn't it be better if you don't have to deal with the headaches of not being a landlord? So you see what I'm saying? It's a setup. It's kind of like in tic-tac-toe, you know, if you get a certain, you setting them up.
Yeah.
So my 3 is timeline, reason for selling, what do you plan to do if it doesn't sell? That's
I would add
my top 3.
I would add a 4th one, which
What's
would be
that?
condition. Like what is the condition of which you would sell sometimes? So a lot of people I find in sales will say, oh, I got time or whatever. So if they're not checking off those other boxes or if they're not responding to you, sometimes I always say, okay, well, what would be the one thing that would have to happen for you to either move forward or change your mind or sit? At what point are you going to wait? You know, whatever the condition is for whatever they're telling you, you know, you have to kind of figure out what are the conditions of them wanting to sell, because you might be able to convince them otherwise. To be honest, they might have a kind of a false idea in their head about the process, about anything else. So I think the condition of which they're selling is always super important. Maybe condition's not the right word, but
I know what you're saying. I think Brent Daniels had a great video on that not too long ago.
it is from TTV.
It's like an objection versus
Yeah.
a condition. Like,
yeah.
it was pretty cool. He had a good point.
Yeah,
So I know you're going with it.
There's objections and then there's conditions. You can overcome one and you can't overcome the other. So sometimes a lot of things that you think are conditions that are barriers to the seller are really just false objections. So I think digging into those and figuring out why they're making the decision to tell you that they're selling or not selling is important, because you'll be able to navigate through whether it is an objection or a condition. But anyway. On that note, do we have any other questions on there, or are we about to wrap up?
Well, we are about to wrap up. Do you have any more questions in your book?
In my book of questions over here?
Well, we'll give it a little bit more time. So if you have a really good question, drop it in. Brian, what do you got going on? I know you drove from Houston to hang out with us this evening. Super thankful for that. But
Thank you.
How can people get a hold of you? What are you passionate about? What do you want the audience to do? How can we help you?
Well, you can find me on YouTube, Brian Iregbu, Instagram, House Buying Brian. As far as what I'm passionate about, I mean, seeing happy people. Really.
So be happy, everyone.
Really, I'm people going for it. I mean, I'm passionate about, people taking a chance on themselves and not letting their time run out,
Awesome. So and what is the best platform to reach you on? What's your favorite?
Instagram.
Instagram?
Yeah.
I remember you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, Instagram.
He says he doesn't have a handle on YouTube, but if you look him up on YouTube, he's got a handle on YouTube.
There's a question on here.
I need this cool setup. Maybe after.
There's a question on here that in itself is an entire Propelio Academy series, but I'm going to see if you can give us a 30-second answer.
Okay.
No pressure.
What you
I
got?
know. Could
No
you
pressure.
give us a rundown on building systems?
Oh, wow. I mean, that's a whole nother segment, y'all.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's like a whole week's worth of content.
Yeah. I think I'm stumped.
Well, yeah, because trying to give a quick answer.
Oh yeah, I'm
there's
stumped.
the
That's
CRM.
fun.
I'm still building them. You know?
Yeah.
I think you kind of answered
You
that a little bit.
You compartmentalize, the systems, because there's different systems for different things, and then you find a way to put them all together. But I don't have the answer to that. We're still building.
The way I would answer that question is there's a YouTuber I like to watch. This has nothing to do with real estate. It's Casey Neistat. He's a filmmaker.
Gotcha.
And
Tracy.
what he's always said about when it comes to making videos for YouTube or making films, don't let equipment get in the way of the story. So don't make the excuse of I don't have this $10,000 camera, therefore I can't shoot. You have a cell phone, you have a camera. So to apply that to this conversation, don't let the system, the CRM, the call, whatever structure get in the way of doing deals. I've said it so many times. I said it yesterday. The idiot that takes massive action will beat the hell out of the genius that never applies anything.
Yeah, and I think you kind of answered it a little bit earlier. And
Sometimes being too smart is really, man. I don't remember this speech. It's about this billionaire guy, but sometimes your intelligence kind of screws you, because sometimes smart people are always trying to find a better way.
Yeah.
So they'll sit back right here trying to outsmart and never do anything. So
Yeah, that's true.
I like just get it. Yeah.
Just get it going. But I think what you said earlier was, listen, you're still adapting and growing. So start with what you're good at and what gets you moving, whatever that's going to be. If you hate door knocking, don't start door knocking. Start doing something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And then when you start to not be able to handle what you're doing, then maybe create a system to handle it and start there. Once you have that working, you can move on to the next system. And so I always tell people, spend an hour a week, 1 hour every week, no more, no less, and pick one process that you're doing, that you're working on, whether it be cold calling or whatever, and just map it out. What's the first step? What's the ending step? And then just figure out a process and follow that for yourself. And then you'll start to build your systems and processes, and then you'll figure out how to marry them once you start to find the gaps. But 1 hour a week is manageable, and it's easy, and it documents it. And then it can help you see where the gaps are, where you might need to add a process or build a system, or maybe get technology to help you, or maybe you can outsource it because you've mastered it. Right. Something like that. So anyway, just my 2 cents about it.
So Brian, final thoughts?
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for
I made it on
coming.
Propelio. What did I do?
Yeah. So if you like the show today, please drop some love in the comments, share it out. We monitor the comments. The community here is pretty badass. So if you have questions, or join the Propelio group on Facebook if you haven't done that yet. You were just pointing at something.
I seen a good question.
Well, answer it.
Would you recommend getting a mentor or betting on yourself?
Ooh.
Actually, getting a mentor is betting on yourself.
Ooh.
That's some deep thought right there.
That is deep thought.
It's investing in yourself.
Because my answer was it depends.
He's way more wise than you. Would you like to be my new co-host?
Damn.
I would love to. I'm just joking.
Casey, final thoughts?
No.
I love everything you've said. You've touched on some great stuff. And for me, the thing that stood out the most about just kind of your genuineness and honesty about what it takes, and that it doesn't look like everyone else's journey, which I know we say, but I think you broke it down in a way that makes sense. Y'all got to do what you need to do. Bet on yourself by investing in people, education, and whatever helps you get to where you want to be for yourself. And start there. It doesn't have to be grand. There's a lot of resources. Come to Propelio meetups. You'll get to meet and talk with people. But yeah, that's my takeaway from this. If you would like to get a hold of me, I'm local to the DFW market, but we also do some deals in San Antonio. If you need help with your transactions, Atlas Transaction Coordinating Services is available to you guys. So check us out and give us a like and reach out.
Anything you want to plug, sir?
No, I just want to thank y'all.
Well, thank you, sir. I'm Ryan with Propelio. If you need access to comps, you need websites, you need Driving for Dollars app, you need a CRM, you need education, all those things we got you covered over at Propelio. You go to propelio.com, you can do a 14-day free trial to do the software. For our meetups, we've got a 2-day wholesaling course on January 3rd and 4th here in DFW. It's probably worth flying in. We're also going to live stream that out. Awesome. We've also got the DFW event on the 14th. We've got an event in Houston on the 21st. So check it out, Propelio Academy, propelio.com/academy. All those courses are for free. John Jackson was actually here today doing content on lease options and things like that. So an abundant amount of education and content on Propelio Academy. I'm Ryan Harper. Follow me on Instagram. Woo, Ryan is Harper. That's about it. Trey, you got anything? No. Trey's got nothing. So thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.